Hey guys, what's up? Lightboltjoe here. Today we're going to discuss Thor: The Dark World. Came out May 8th, 2013. Directed by Alan Taylor, starring Chris Hemsworth as Thor, Kate Dennings as Darcy, Natalie Portman as Jane Foster, Anthony Hopkins as Odin, Tom Hiddleston as Loki, Idris Elba as Heimdall, a bunch of other people as a bunch of other people. Now, this movie takes place right after the events of New York. Loki is put on not trial, but sentenced in Odin's throne room to the dungeon to live out his days. Jane Foster is still doing her experiments on Earth, but this time in London / Greenwich, England. You have Darcy still as her intern, and Darcy has her own intern now, Ian. They find gravity mix-ups, basically because of convergence of the 9 realms coming together. Eric Selvig explains it. Odin explains it. Every 5,000 years there's a convergence. Now, anytime I hear convergence, I think of harmonic convergence from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and from Legend of Korra. Avatar. So convergence, right? Harmonic convergence. When the portals of the 2 realms, Earth, mortal, and spirit, come together, right? So the bridge is gapped. So that's obviously what I think of when I first hear convergence. But this convergence is a little bit different. Obviously, this is more Norse mythology with the 9 realms converging together. We have the background of why the realms converging is a big thing, because 5,000 years ago is when the last convergence was. So you had Odin's father fighting this guy, Malekith, who's the leader of the Dark Elves, who possessed this very old, eternal force called the Ether. And then the Asgardians obtained the Ether, locked it away. But then during the new convergence, that's when Jane Foster happened to be in a portal and kind of smashed into the ether and then got it inside her. And then there's the harmonic convergence some more, and Malekith is back and wants the ether for himself to, put all the dark matter into all the 9 realms so that they are his. Basically, that's the plot. So then eventually the ether is taken out of Jane. Loki and Thor have back and forths. You have Loki pretending he's dead yet again, and last time we see him in this film is on the throne in Odin's chamber. Their mother Frigga dies at the hands of Malekith. The very end of the movie is when we have Lady Sif and, I forget his name, going to the Collector, Taneleer Tivan, the Collector, in nowhere. But we don't actually know it's nowhere, but because you're a Guardians fan, you know it's nowhere. They give him the ether, and they say, we don't need 2 Infinity Stones on Asgard. We already have the Tesseract. So the Tesseract has the Space Stone. The ether is the Reality Stone. Not that they call it the Reality Stone, but it's the Reality Stone. They don't call it the Reality Stone until movies later. And the Mind Stone is in Loki's scepter. So we've seen 3 Infinity Stones so far out of these past movies, up to date onto Thor: The Dark World. And that's really the only point of this film, is to introduce the Reality Stone. It was an okay thing, right? It's the realms coming together. But like, Thor Ragnarok is the best Thor, hands down. There's no getting around that. We'll talk about Ragnarok at some given point. Absolutely one of the best films I've ever seen, let alone best Marvel film. Awesome. Ragnarok. Korg is just great. Taika Waititi did a phenomenal job with Ragnarok. But we'll talk about Ragnarok as time goes on. What did you guys think of Dark World? Do you think it was the only purpose of that film was to introduce the Reality Stone? Because that's what I believe. The best part of the film was the ending, when they're in Tavan's collecting menagerie, and they give him the stone, and he says, 1 down, 5 to go. Mucho mahalo, guys.